Right now, carnivore diets are trending hard. In fact, keto is sort of lost. People say eat a high-fat carnivore diet, but they're not trying to drive ketosis. In this video, we're going to go over Ben Bickman's breakdown of how ketones are amazing to not only spare the muscle, slow down and stop those gluconeogenesis to the point where you might be losing muscle. Let's hear what he's got to say, his theories about the amazing ketogenic diet right now. Welcome everyone to my very humble channel. Now I want to get right on into this subject about ketogenic diets and how ketogenic diets are great for insulin regulation and insulin sensitivity, and of course building the muscle gains, which you can't see because it's still cold outside, but I digress. Lately I've been doing commentary videos on people saying that fat will give you diabetes. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs is a world upside down. Yes, it is. We're living in the upside down world. I know. Well, I thought I would do a ketogenic promoting video because, as you know, that ketones are a unit of fat. So why this whole thing that some people think that you're hitting your fat threshold, which means that you can only store so much fat, and then you start to have inflammation in the body, thus creating pancreatic issues and insulin issues and diabetes, high blood sugar from eating fat, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Now, this can happen, but this happens with people who've got a lot of disease, not the average Joe. People who are just metabolically broken and their immune system is on the ground dragging 5 miles, 100 miles. But let's pull up Ben Bickman because he is all the rage. And I've been following Ben for a very, very, very long time. He's very sciencey, and that there's some good information coming in his science brain. And then there's some stuff that's kind of hard to decipher. And then stuff that I don't 100% align with because he's more of a research scientist rather than just, like myself, working with people over the years, collecting data. Okay, let's hear what he says about the ketogenic diet and building muscle. And he's going to break down ketogenesis. So let's listen because it's quite interesting.
It gives the ketogenic diet its name, and they do have a pretty fascinating role in protecting muscle. By way of a brief primer on ketone metabolism, ketones are produced when the liver is burning a lot of fat. And the main ketones are acetoacetate, acetone, and then the primary one of all, beta hydroxybutyrate. For far too long, of course, ketones have been considered, well, once upon a time, metabolic garbage. But even now, it's like we can't describe them without calling them a backup. In fact, I even mentioned that a moment ago, and that absolutely is not fair. Ketones are not a backup to glucose. And that term is usually derived from a mistaken view of what happens at the brain with its metabolism, where many people consider that the brain's primary fuel is glucose and it will only use ketones when it needs to. And that is demonstrably false. Let me say that again in a different way. That is not right. It has been shown that the moment ketones come in the blood, the brain is already using them, even if glucose is still abundant, and indeed, even if glucose is higher than ketones. That directly proves false the idea that the brain prefers glucose and that the ketone is a backup. If anything, it suggests that glucose is the backup and that the brain prefers ketones because, again, it will use the ketones even when the ketones are at a lower level. Now, this is important because if the brain prefers or at least readily uses ketones, that means the brain's demand for glucose goes down. That's important because if there is an incessant and dramatic need for the liver to produce a lot of glucose, even though most of that glucose via gluconeogenesis will be coming from lactate, if the need is sufficiently great, some of it will be coming from amino acids from the muscle. At the risk of opening up a whole tangent here, This is the difference between starvation and fasting. It's, do you have ketones? Do you have enough fat to burn? And indeed burn that into ketones, because then the brain will use the ketones and then the amino acids can stay in the muscle. But in the absence of ketones, the brain must get all of its energy from.
Okay, just want to stop for a second. You can also make ketones from the dietary fat. So when he's saying, do you have enough fat? So that's kind of a strange way. He's also a proponent of fasting, which I am not, but let's continue.
Glucose, which will sooner than later require the brain, the body rather, to start mobilizing the carbons from the muscle protein, thus stripping the muscle. All right, so again, this is why people for decades have said that ketones are muscle sparing, because they spare the protein. It's like diverting a river. Ketones will redirect the brain's energy needs away from raiding the muscle. So in this sense, ketones really do defend.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's a big difference between what the way some of these very sciencey doctors talk and the way I or explain and I do. Basically, ketones are going to stop your body from the need and demand of eating itself, right? So let's give that visual. The whole concept about gluconeogenesis is really interesting. So I'm always saying that, hold on, wait for it. I'm always saying that your body is going to, right, eat the muscle or amino acids. It doesn't have to be just straight muscle. If you are going through some crazy adrenal, if you are starving yourself, the body needs on demand energy, because food is gasoline to drive the car. So if the gas tank is empty, then your body can go into gluconeogenesis and start breaking down the muscle to stabilize the blood sugar and give your brain fuel. But let's go back to what he was saying. Here we go.
And the muscle by telling the brain, you are well fed and you don't need so much glucose. And so leave those carbons in the muscle that could have the potential to become glucose.
So basically, if you're using ketones over, let's say, glucose, because when your blood sugar, when your gas tank is empty, you're going to have to go into the body factory and break down muscle or amino acids to fuel the fledgling brain. That means your muscle gains are going to suck, right? But with ketones, insulin sensitivity, and less demand of breaking down amino acids, less demand of gluconeogenesis, which is breaking down your muscle and eating itself, basically, your body eating itself, then you're sparing the muscle because the muscle doesn't have to be chomped on. All right, here we go.
But the story doesn't start there in a kind of abstract way of just brain fuel use, because, and this is critical, BHB actually also has direct signaling effects at muscle.
It's beta hydroxybutyrate, ketones.
It not only enhances mitochondrial function and promotes mitochondrial fusion, and that's work from my own lab, by the way. In fact, allow me to elaborate because it's a little self-aggrandizing, if you will. We published a report finding that when muscle cells were fueled with beta hydroxybutyrate, that it not only enhanced mitochondrial structure and integrity, but it resulted in greater ATP production, reduced oxidative stress. And when
your muscle cells have more energy and less oxidative stress, as in terms of damage to the muscle cells. Because your muscle cells, they are the mitochondria within the muscle, they are so powerful. A lot of you people have chronic fatigue or you have low hormones. You don't experience this amazing exploding within the muscle cells of really healthy mitochondria within the cell.
Challenged the muscle cells with some noxious stimuli to damage them. The muscle cells fueled with BHB were more resilient. They were stronger, more resistant to injury.
So if you're in ketosis, he's saying that the muscle cells are less prone to damage and injury. Ketones, BHB. That's why ketogenesis and Maria Emmerich and some of these people saying that you shouldn't eat fat is the dumbest. I still can't wrap, yes, I can wrap myself around it, because she's got, in my opinion, some issues with food. So if we can just say that fat is bad for you, then the narrative can continue, right? This low protein, no, sheets high proteins, rather low fat and low carb, which is starting. But here we go.
Even further, in aging models, BHB can reverse sarcopenia. That is important because one of the best predictors for longevity is muscle mass. So anything that preserves muscle is a prudent strategy to live a long, healthy life, and ketones help. In fact, in one study with some aging rodents, when given ketones, they found that the muscle maintained more than 20% of its mass relative to the controls that were aging alongside.
I'm not going to lie, I do not like rat and mice studies because they are not human beings. So that's why I don't like studies. I really, really don't. I like observational studies, but this whole rat thing or mice thing, mm-mm.
Them. And this was in multiple muscles of different fiber types. You might have heard of fast twitch or slow twitch. All of them maintained roughly 20% more of their mass.
So fast twitch would be like, these like 100-meter sprinters who run super fast for a short time. And slow twitch would be you're running the twitches within the muscle. You'd be running for a very, very long distance.
And the muscle fiber size was pretty stable across the groups, but it was actually, they found a favorable enhancement in muscle fiber type, making the muscle stronger and faster, as well as more mitochondrial biogenesis and reduced proteolysis. Incidentally, the mice also lived longer. Further, incidentally, in the female mice, the higher they bumped up the ketones, the greater were the improvements in spatial memory and even reducing anxiety.
See,
and they actually thought that
ketogenic diets have been around long enough. We don't need to use mice. Humans and mice are not the same. I don't understand it. I mean, who cares? Like, the mice aren't going to sit there with the little barbell and lift. So I know there's some value to it, but why not just use humans over a long expanded time and really look on the type of fat that stimulates ketogenesis, your circadian rhythm, how the circadian rhythm affects hormones and mitochondria within the cell, as well as dietary fat, digestion of fat, and converting via liver into ketones. Why are we using mice? But I've been talking for almost 17 minutes, and this is getting kind of old. So let's wrap it up. And let's wrap it up, my people. My mom's ancient dog, this 20 years old. You want down? I'm going to put you down. Okay. All right, little dude. Oh, no, not yet, Dale. Not yet. My dog wants to go outside. And then I've got my mom's dog. Basically, this whole idea that fat makes you fat, or your body hits a fat threshold, and then after that, you damage your ability to balance insulin and you become insulin resistant because you're inflamed. And then you've got Ben Bickman talking about the benefits of a ketogenic diet, which I love, of course, and how it's protein sparing within your muscle. Basically, you're going to build muscle. So I've been doing ketogenic diets for, we almost at 19 years now. And I haven't eaten starch, carbs, sugar, sweet fruits, nothing in so long. And going from my 40s or 40 into close to my 60s, and still maintaining muscle without any HRTs. Zero. None. It's quite amazing. And I am my own N=1 experiment to see what happens when somebody doesn't do any carb cycling, who does not eat high protein, but rather eats high fat. Comment below. Is this subject interesting? His presentation is a little boring, but he seems so intelligent and so nice. We're not scientists, so perhaps he can sort of shorten things and speak in a language for the lay crowd so they can really get the benefit of his knowledge besides the fasting. Yeah. And I'm out. I was sitting here and I was trying to find his videos on lipogenesis and fat threshold. It's too late. And I gave up. So I was like, you know what? I haven't talked about ketogenic diets or being in ketosis and building muscle. Because basically, if you don't have something that's constantly eating at your muscle, then you're going to build them, which is going to help everything, the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, and thyroid function, as well as your reproductive hormones and growth hormone from falling apart. Exercise is so important. High-fat diets are so important. He also did another video about how the gallbladder and bile can help with fat loss or, with balancing your blood sugar. No, insulin. He's the big insulin guy that's all connected to either gaining weight or losing weight, having insulin and glucagon control. But comment below. Is it time to start talking about the ketogenic diet now again and equating that to carnivore? Because you should always be high-fat carnivore and never be high protein, ever. And I'm out. Oh, by the way, people keep wanting me to review Anthony Chafee, and I think it's time. They're like, oh, you guys are very similar. No, we're not. We're not. We are not. Similar as in very similar. But I don't have anything against the dude, but meat does not cure everything. So let's get into that in the very near future. And I'm out. Comment below. Share this content. My Instagram is Stephanie Ketogenic. Facebook fan page is Stephanie the Business Person. I do run a course where I cover now all three diets because I am not a zealot. I am not going to talk about keto all the time. I'm not going to talk about carnivore all the time or low carb, high fat. Let's talk about which low carb diet fits the individual and how to kind of maneuver yourself between these diets and how. Because some people are like, can I lose weight on carbs? Yes, you can. But if you're very carb sensitive, you may not. And it really depends on the individual. I also do consultations for those who are struggling with either getting into ketosis or their health or not trying to go on HRTs or not trying to get off their thyroid medications. I know. All kind of stuff. Leaky gut, chronic fatigue, low hormones. And I'm out. Energy-ish because it's late and now I gotta edit this video. This is a video that's gonna be very low edited. Just probably part of the reason why my channel is shadow banned because I ain't monkey dance, edit them videos, do 5 videos a day. Super clickbaity titles. That's what gets the views. And the dumbest thing is, every time I do a video review is when I get the most views. I wish it wasn't that way because I got a lot of amazing knowledge for you guys to learn about. But if I just talk about the gallbladder, the video's not going to get any views. Crazy, right? And I'm out. Peace. Energy 58, going on 59.